Organic results throughout my couple decades of working in SEO. You'll see the prominence of organic results get pushed further and further down a search engine result page. I don't know if everyone realizes that, but certainly if you work in this industry, you've noticed it.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
On this episode of the Marketing Expedition Podcast, I get to speak with Joe DeVita. After finishing his undergraduate work, he drove to Colorado to play in the mountains. 6 months later, after realizing he needed a better paying job to fund his hobbies, he joined an e-commerce startup that sold outdoor equipment. And while he took the job primarily because of the discounts on gear, he soon became more fascinated by e-commerce. And this was a turning point in his professional career. The years that he helped build Vail's e-commerce company were some of the most professionally exciting in his life. He was involved in every aspect of the business, from packing boxes to hard-coding product pages for better SEO rankings. Then, after 5 years, he decided to move back east, and he spent months struggling to find a job while living in a tiny apartment with 4 friends. Luckily, just as he ran out of money, he was offered a position with a much bigger e-commerce company with computer and electronic accessories. And he got to learn how to market millions of SKUs with a multi-million-dollar advertising budget. And at that point, he didn't think he could do any better. The internet marketing landscape was rapidly changing, and agencies were building huge teams to manage the world's largest digital ad campaigns. And Razorfish was the best place anyone in the industry could have hoped to work for, and he got in. At Razorfish, his knowledge grew from paid search, comparison shopping engines, and SEO to all media tactics, strategy, and beyond. He was fortunate to work with them and learn from some of the most influential leaders in the industry and some of the world's leading brands. He also had the pleasure of mentoring some of the brilliant talent that Razorfish is known for. And after 10 years with Razorfish, he acquired the knowledge and experience to go out on his own. He's now focused on building his own digital agency and putting 100% of his passion into making moving traffic media the kind of company he always wanted to be a part of. It's time for your Marketing Essentials moment, the basics that you need to help you continue to build your brand and your bottom line. Okay, today's topic, we are going to talk about the advantages and some disadvantages of advertising when it's not done right. Okay, so thinking about when you are going to choose the method of your marketing communication strategy plan, the tactics, all the things that you're going to do, and all of the things that you are wanting to reach, those KPIs, those kept promise indicators or key performance indicators, to then build that ROI, the return on your marketing investment, or ROMI, ROMI. And when we want to advertise, we want to make sure that we're building this sense of credibility and legitimacy in our brand, in our organization. We are going to invest the time and the energy to do it right. And sometimes we don't always do it right at first. So we have to do some iterations and think about how we're going to present ourselves in the product, in the public forum that you're going to put out there, ideally to your soulmate client. And ads can really convey that sense of quality, permanence. It can give the idea that your company isn't just a fly-by-night venture, right? You are now legitimizing yourself because you are paying money to advertise your brand or your business. And advertising can really allow marketers like us to continuously repeat the message in intervals that can be selected strategically on an ongoing basis. And the idea that that repetition is going to be helpful to your target audience to continuously hear it over and over again so that they can recall it and see it and even share it with others, because it's so good that they want to make sure that other people hear it and see it and say it too, right? And that really becomes full circle. It's going to improve your awareness. It's going to help with word of mouth advertising. It's going to continuously create that top of mind awareness. You're going to have calls to action, and you're going to have people taking action based on the advertisements that you're doing if you're doing it correctly. And that is the advantage, right, of being able to generate the human interest that people want to acknowledge and be a part of something that they are deeming as necessary in their lives. Either wants or needs. They want it or they need it, right? And so your advertisement, it's generating that excitement or that engagement that you want. It's introducing emotions connected to your brand, the images and the symbolism that you are portraying in your advertising, right? The symbols that you're doing to stimulate that desire. You're using persuasive messaging. You are using those things that are going to help continuously make your brand more favorable over the competitors in an ideal scenario, right? And really, it's just an excellent way to continuously build that brand and over time, especially if you get it dialed in and you do the iterations, spend a little money up front to do some A/B testing, what works, what doesn't, eliminate what doesn't, right? And then continuously perfect what is working well and why. And utilizing all of the sophisticated tools that we have with AI technology and data analytics and all the things that we can do to measure and track and use these powerful tools to understand our customers' behaviors, their interests, their preferences, and the filters that we can set on all of the digital advertising that we can do allows us to continuously better tailor our advertising messages and offering the things that we can offer to our individual soulmate clients that we want to serve, right? And then thinking about how you're making these things memorable and entertaining or informational or edutainment, I like to call it. It's educating and it's entertaining at the same time. All of these different types of things that you can do to help skyrocket those impressions to the right people at the right time. But, and I don't even want to say but, yes, and there are some disadvantages if you're not doing it correctly. So really taking the time to understand what it is that's going to work is going to benefit you tremendously. Set yourself up for success. Plan ahead and take the time to discover and uncover what is working and what's not, because you could be wasting money. And that's the disadvantage of advertising if you are spending money on something that's just not going to work. And whether the methodology or the tactic or the tool or the platform that you're using to make it cost prohibitive, what you want to do is flip that into being cost effective and reaching the right target audiences. Costs can vary with all the different mediums and channels. And if you're trying to make an omnipresent, marketing campaign where you're everywhere that you need to be in order to get in front of your ideal customer, right? So along with the cost, if you aren't actually reaching the people that you want to actually reach, that is a huge disadvantage, and you're doing yourself such a disservice to your marketing budget and your bottom line, right? Because we're so inundated now and crowded in the mind space that we want with our target audience. It's crowded, right? And so ads that don't grab attention, that grow stale, or they're not clickable, or they're not interactive, or they're not calling to action the action you want them to take, and it's not producing results, that is a huge disadvantage for you. And maybe your competitors are at an advantage. So thinking about how you can be the one that's at the advantage, not your competitors, right? So thinking about the different tactics and the different types of things that you can do. Traditional media, right, is generally a one-way communication. It's really more about top of mind. It's building that awareness factor, but being able to use the digital space where we can look and click-throughs and conversion rates and the types of people who are clicking on your ads, where geographically they are clicking on your ads. Maybe there's specific points of interest that we want to advertise in the country because we have more people clicking in that area, because there's, for whatever reason, whatever product or service it is, it's trending, it's becoming more popular, it's becoming, accelerated word of mouth. And so people are talking and clicking and buying because of that. So thinking about all of those things that you can do to make sure that you are at the advantage with your advertising is going to help you. And understanding too, your consumer feedback, the interactions, doing surveys, doing some primary research, secondary research, understanding your audience and what they need, what their needs are, doing some A/B testing and actually setting out a survey to say, hey, do you like this or this, that or this, which, and just continuously doing those iterations to really understand your audience, really understand who your customers are. Doing those surveys can provide very, very good analytics and benefits to you if you can get people to take the surveys. So sometimes that is the trick, right? Being able to make sure that you're getting a good sample population of your ideal customers and having them take the survey, and then maybe rewarding them and incentivizing them to do so. So on the next Marketing Essentials moment, we're going to talk all about surveys and primary research and what that means and why it's so critically important to your marketing strategy and plan. And so we're going to talk about the differences between primary and secondary research and surveying and focus groups and interviewing and one-on-ones with your customers or your ideal customers, and why that's such a critical move in any marketing strategy and plan that you are implementing. So that'll be next up on the Marketing Essentials moment. But let's get to the interview, and be sure to stay tuned, subscribe to the channel so that you can continuously get Marketing Essentials moments that you need to help you continue to build your brand and your bottom line. All right, let's get to that interview. Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest, we have Joe DeVita. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks, Ray. It's nice to talk with you again.
So I know I'll have a whole long bio that they'll get to listen to, but I always like to ask something that maybe people don't know about. Share a little something about you and kind of your journey and how you got to where you are now. Maybe sprinkle in some things that aren't necessarily in your bio.
Okay. Well, you could dig into my bio and find it maybe, but the journey that began for me in a small e-commerce startup was a total mistake. I was living.
Love it.
I moved after I finished my undergrad, and I moved to Colorado, and I worked as a ski instructor for a couple of years.
Fun.
And I wasn't making enough money. My college loans kicked in. I wasn't making enough money, so I started working in the evenings in like a ski shop in town. And this ski shop was owned by Val Resorts, and I didn't know it at the time, but they had like 500, it was a really big company. They had a bunch of retail shops. And a year or so later, I moved to Denver to work in another one of their outdoor shops. And then I saw like a kind of job bulletin. It was like old school, like tacked up in the break room on a cork board. It was like, we're starting a new e-commerce venture. We need all kinds of help. If you're interested, call this guy. And I called and I said, I don't have any. I basically knew how to type at that point, but that was about it. I only had a little experience with email. This is like 2000. This was like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I interviewed. It was like they basically brought me on to answer the phone and help in the warehouse. But I spent a few years in this little kind of startup environment within Val's e-commerce division, and I learned a lot. And it wasn't like anything I intended to do. It just I really had a passion for the outdoors, and working for this company gave me great discounts on gear. And I was just trying to, I was young and single, and just trying to maximize the time I could spend outdoors. And I really just kind of fell in love with e-commerce, and I got to a point where I realized like I'm becoming less interested in the gear and more interested in like running this little company. And it was that kind of propelled me into this profession. Now I'm 20 or so years into it.
I love the fact that it was for an e-commerce company that actually posted like a job on a cork board, right? I'm just envisioning a cork board, right?
It was.
That's how we used to do it back in the day. For those of you younger, listeners right now, you had to pull a number, like a phone number, off the little sheet of paper. And
like in the grocery store, guitar lessons. It was really that like level of sophistication.
That's awesome. And now everything's all digital. But I think that's really a cool start though, because then you really get kind of your feet wet and into all the different areas of a startup, especially early e-commerce business, right?
Yeah. So I got to kind of like cut my teeth on selling products on eBay and with Amazon Seller Central, and it just kind of morphed into something really, really interesting for me. I eventually moved to New York, where I grew up in New York State, and I moved back to New York when my family started to grow, and it really just kind of,
Yeah.
it got very busy for me here. There was a lot more opportunity here in New York than there was in Denver at the time.
Well, and with most startups too, I mean, imagine that, it was bootstrapped and, the salary was, maybe helpful, but, there's always, maybe other opportunities in bigger cities, bigger areas, right?
Yeah.
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 So tell me more about what you're doing now for the clients. I mean, you've built up, all of this experience and doing, multi-million dollar advertising, budgets and things. Tell me some things that you're working on now and some success stories of things that you've been able to accomplish.
So Moving Traffic Media, we just celebrated our 6th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of surviving with my wits to make a living. It was hard in the beginning, as you know. I know.
Yeah.
We share us kind of a similar startup story, but
yeah.
So yeah, we're 6 years into it. We just threw a big party for our small team. We're 9 people, and we flew everyone to Los Angeles for a few days and just basically went on a taco eating tour. We did a little work, but it was mostly just to see each other because we've been a fully remote organization since the early pandemic years. But so your question is like, what are we doing interesting now? It's the same thing that we've been doing for 6 years. We haven't really changed our basic service offering. I have a business partner, and he and I worked together for about 15 years for a big agency in New York City. And in 2017, we both decided to quit our full-time jobs to try to build something ourselves. And we have since then, and today, we only offer the services that we feel comfortable doing ourselves. So we have a team who can do a lot of the implementation work now, but there's kind of this comfort knowing that when people go on vacation or somebody's sick or, there's a weekend emergency with a client, my partner and I can jump in and do a lot of the work still. And so we don't offer a lot of services. We haven't expanded our services a lot, but we've gained more and more clients every year, which has helped us grow. We have almost 20 clients now.
Nice. And so Moving Traffic Media, like really, what kind of things specifically do you offer for your clients then that you've been doing and have been successful at doing?
So it's mostly search. It's mostly SEO and advertising. And on the advertising side, it takes a lot of forms. It's a lot of paid search, a lot of paid social, and display advertising. And on the SEO side, it's mostly helping our clients with a national strategy. So clients are trying to reach a national audience. We help them rank for a set of target keywords nationally. But it's a pretty good mix, maybe like 60-40. 60% of our work is in the internet advertising services, and then 40% is in SEO. It kind of fluctuates year to year, though.
Well, it seems like there's always new things to keep and consider in mind when you're wanting to continuously optimize and keep SEO, in the right place so that your client sites are ranked where they need to be. And now there's so many other considerations than there even just, a year ago, right? Now with AI and voice search optimization and all the things, right?
Yeah. It's a fun industry to work in because it changes so often. It really never gets boring.
That's true. Can you, just out of just pure curiosity and fun, what are some of the things that you've seen that have been pretty significant in how search engines work now versus when you first started?
Well, so organic results throughout my couple decades of working in SEO, you'll see the prominence of organic results get pushed further and further down a search engine result page. I think I don't know if everyone realizes that, but if certainly if you work in this industry, you've noticed it, where there used to be 10, there used to be a certain number of results on every search engine result page.
Well,
It's a
now there's
lot
all
less
those
now.
zero click things where they just automatically pop up where people don't even click on anything anymore because they're just answering it right there on the search results.
And
Yeah.
that was the big difference. That was kind of the point that I was going to make, that predicting your needs, the search engines have become a lot better at predicting what you need, the intent behind your search, and they're providing you answers which don't require you to click into somebody's website. So it's become a lot harder to maintain organic traffic if you're in a industry where the answers can be, supplied by a search engine rather than you. So I think that that's probably the big thing that we're still kind of helping clients understand now, with search results improving so much recently. Most, with artificial intelligence has had a big impact on it. But how do you maintain that search traffic? And if you can't maintain the same level of search traffic year over year, can you improve the quality of the traffic? Can you maintain a certain conversion rate on your organic traffic by focusing on the right kind of organic traffic? So it's the measurement has gotten a little bit tricky for us in the last year, but on the measurement side of it, just focusing on maintaining the right volume of conversions and conversion rate is kind of where we're focused right now.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and then on the flip side, on the Google ads and just, internet advertising in general, right? I mean, there's so many things, so many places that people can be and, get their message out. It seems like it's just people are getting inundated. So how do you find the right place at the right time for the right people, for the right audience, for your clients? I mean, obviously that's a loaded question, but maybe just some ideas of what people could consider if they were to go and decide that they wanted to have internet advertising as part of their plan. What are some things they should consider?
We try to provide a quarterly test plan for all of our clients. Some of them aren't as ambitious testing, so it turns into like a semi-annual test plan. But for the clients with big enough budgets and the right appetite for testing, we try to test new and smaller platforms as often as we can. So there are lots of marketplaces that you can do business with outside of the Google ads and Meta ads. So what we try to do is always be testing a smaller platform. And there's a lot of we focus mostly on the self-service platforms. So we don't negotiate big homepage takeovers for clients. We focus more on the direct response advertising side of this industry. And there's just it seems like an endless amount of small marketplaces that may or may not make sense for all of our clients, but there's always something different that we can test. And they're smaller, so sometimes the tools aren't as sophisticated, the reporting isn't as great, the integrations with measurement platforms can be tougher, but that's kind of our job as marketers, to help our clients interpret results. And sometimes you don't get the best data, but just to have the exposure within a smaller platform that's maybe a new audience that you couldn't reach with Google or Facebook, it's worth testing. So things like LinkedIn's a big one, but that's another one. People don't consider LinkedIn as often as I think they should. And we've started to do a lot of testing with Nextdoor. We've done some testing with Reddit, which has been pretty successful. It depends on the industry, but there's a lot of little marketplaces that you can test based on client objectives and industries and stuff like that.
You're right. Finding those alternative ways to be able to get the message out there that are not just mainstream, and being able to disrupt, the patterns of everyday lives that can then get that message that's going to be right when they need it.
Yeah.
That's the trick. That's the marketing magic that we get to try to deliver on a regular basis. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, if you have the clients with the right kind of appetite for testing, you can learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the testing is so important and making sure that people understand, look, we're spending your money for a good reason. And, maybe we test out a little bit and spend a little bit to then, get it right before we spend a lot more.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Speaking of spending, budgeting, like you mentioned before we got on the call that you love the budgeting aspect for your
Yeah, I do.
clients, and,
I
which
do.
is not normal, right? And a lot of people hate
I
that
don't
part
know.
of the process. So I love that I love for you that you love budgeting. So let's dive into that a little bit more. And
I
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think it's like maybe that's why I like it, because so many people just kind of throw their hands up and like, what am I supposed to do with this money?
yeah,
But
exactly.
I enjoy like building models for clients.
Mm-hmm.
So clients come with an objective. We need to promote this product or service. Here's our timeline. Here's our budget. What do we do with it? So, in an old-fashioned media plan, you would go out and RFP a bunch of publishers and figure out how much each publisher could take, and you'd put a media plan together based on inventory availabilities and how much that inventory is. But with our clients, we've got usually you can use historical data from each of your individual clients to say, all right, we have enough understanding of how certain ads perform for you on Google and Microsoft or
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn or Reddit or whatever the channels that you have some understanding of. So you start there and you say, all right, well, if we're going to promote this new product, the audience is pretty similar to these campaigns. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll use your own historical data to try to forecast what we think could happen as far as pricing per click and conversion rates. And then you just kind of tier it to say, we think the results will be best on this platform, second best on this platform, third best on this platform. And here is kind of our best guess at what the metrics could come out like if we split the budget up in three different ways. So I like that piece of the job, and I guess most people don't like it, but I dive into it.
That's awesome. Well, you said looking at historical data of previous campaigns that you've done before. And I think that is so helpful because people all the time will say, well, I don't know how much to spend. And then you have to go and do some research and understand what's like industry norms and what maybe their competitors are spending, if you can even access any of that information. And so being able to lean on campaigns that you've done previously with a similar persona or demographic that you're trying to reach, that is so helpful. And it's, for the newbies out there, giving them advice and guidance to say, listen, you can build that up over time, but being able to at least have some sort of way to forecast and predict what's going to happen as far as how much you need to spend and where you need to spend it and what's going to be the results that you predict. But it's never set in stone, right? I mean, you have to have the ability to have some flexibility, right?
Yep, it's just a plan until it's not the plan anymore. You want to have a regular cadence of reviewing information as it comes in and making optimization decisions during the flight of any campaign. So it's you're never really locked into the plan. You just want to you present your plan as like, here's the best approach I think to start with, and then you have regular conversations with your client every week or every couple of weeks, and you adjust as you learn.
Yeah, and I think that that's the important part and piece to make mention to those who do get started at this and doing online advertising, that like you said, it's the plan until it's not, and then you're going to have a new plan, and being able to be flexible and not just stuck with, this is my budget, I have nothing more, nothing less, this is what you said you were going to do, and then realizing that sometimes those discoveries that are made along the way can be very powerful and worth every penny if you have a client that's willing to go through that process and willing to spend to gain those insights and knowledge. Have you ever had a client that's like, I'm not spending another dime, don't ask me for more money? Have you been in that situation, Joe?
Yeah, a couple of we want to be a good steward of our clients, brands and budget. So one of the things, we gain trust from our clients by not spending more than they've allowed us to spend. So I think as an agency, it's really important.
Yeah.
Client says you can spend 10,000. You don't spend, you don't spend more because they could get in trouble.
Right.
So
totally.
But all the time it's like, and who knows where the direction is coming from. It's a CMO or a CEO or a CFO.
Probably, yeah.
Somebody's putting a lot of pressure on our clients to be very careful with the budget. So when we, when that kind of pressure is shared with us, we just got to respect it.
Well, and in some situations it's grant dollars and they have no more to spend at all anyway. So you have to make do with what you got and hope for the best, but do your best to make sure that it's not just based on what do they say? Spray and pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I don't need to throw a bunch of statistics and percentages at you for you to know that most of us spend too much time staring at screens. Being able to consume your content on the go means that your clients and customers can listen and learn from you without being tied to their desks. With Hello Audio, your customers can put their phones down, power off their PCs, close their MacBooks, and get the information they need from you while they're, let's say, walking a dog, doing a jigsaw puzzle, washing the dishes, maybe when they're in the car or exercising on the treadmill, sunbathing in their garden. Well, Hello Audio makes it incredibly easy for you. No more hours spent trying to figure out tech settings or trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole. You can click publish on an audio feed in a matter of minutes and have control over who accesses what. So visit peppershock.com/offers and sign up for a free trial of Hello Audio. So what kind of tools do you use, Joe, to help you with guiding your decisions that you're making? I mean, there's so many tools out there now, but I'm just curious what you lean into and what you appreciate using the most.
Well, I like to always start with the proprietary first party data. So, we have, I try to dig into whatever client platforms are available to me. Depending on what kind of project it is, but maybe it's HubSpot or Shopify. And I can take in I start with the platforms that they have. And then if I feel like pieces are missing, then I'll work with the client. Maybe the client has a finance team that can help me understand the business metrics behind different, offering different services or products. But I start by just aggregating as much of the client's own first party data as I can to kind of like build the plans. And then the second thing is usually if you just kind of expand your conversations, sometimes just beyond the marketing team that we get to interface with most regularly, you get different insights. And sometimes people have different levels of information of how profitable or not profitable certain products can be.
Yeah. So
you go a step further with kind of first party information, and then you can plug the gaps, I guess, a little bit with planning tools. So I guess it depends on it all really depends. But the advertising platforms have. I was thinking we just did this for a client recently where we were trying to understand how much could we spend on 3 different platforms if we were going to spend. It was like they said if we had $10,000 more and we wanted to spend it with Facebook, Google, and Nextdoor, how could we spend it? So all 3 of those platforms have some way of forecasting demand, number of impressions, and about how much you could pay per click. So, the advertising tools all have some rudimentary forecasting tool that you can build off of too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is just being able to make sure that you're splitting the budget up wisely and because we don't want to spread it too thin to where then nothing is good in any of those platforms, right?
That's
And
right.
so you have to do a little maneuvering to make sure that it's going to be impacted the way you want it to, and follow through.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have kind of a specific client that you can share with us, if you mind, or, if you care to share, maybe some tactics and things that you did to get them from point point A to point B and where they are now? Maybe a success story that you'd like to share?
I suppose I can talk about we have a healthcare client we've been working with for a couple of years, and it's they build, they're a healthcare client, and their objective for us is lead generation. So we're trying to generate a certain number of leads for them every month, and we use three different we kind of have our standard set of three platforms. It's all advertising, but we sprinkle in a new platform a few times a year just to try something different. And what we were finding was we were becoming really good at optimizing toward our cost per lead. They had a set budget for the year, and we just kind of like through the longer we worked with their accounts, the better and better we got at optimizing for lead volume with this fixed amount of budget. But we learned over time that the quality of the leads that we were, they have they could assign quality of each lead score of 1, 2, or 3 basically, and a 1 is like we're throwing it out immediately. 2 is like it's kind of good, but this is probably this is not right for this time today. And then the 3rd was a great lead. So they were scoring, the sales team was scoring the leads, but not sharing that information with us. So we figured out a way to kind of like build this feedback loop into our optimization to say we want to optimize more toward the leads that were scored in a 2 or a 3. Right. So we just started optimizing with more information that wasn't never shared with us. And while we saw our lead volume drop a little bit, they saw the quality of lead improve, which ultimately was better for their business.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not about quantity, it's all about quality, and that makes a lot of sense, because if they're getting the 2s and 3s, especially the 3s out there, then that is always a plus for sure. Yeah. Good. Well, that's a good story. Thanks for sharing that. So, Joe, if people wanted to reach out to you and think about internet advertising or SEO, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, I always answer, we have the info@movingtrafficmedia.com email, which I look at every day, and I answer that one. It's on our website, and it's kind of plastered on all our social platforms. That's probably the best way. If I'm not around, my partner will see it. But I think what we really enjoy is those discovery conversations with people who aren't sure what to do, and it's fun. We have a lot of those conversations, and if we can even give a little bit of advice, and if maybe they're not the right client fit for us, but it's fun just to help people think about marketing differently, and I welcome those conversations. Even if every conversation doesn't turn into a piece of business for us, it's still fun to help people solve marketing problems.
Excellent. Well, and then it sounds like because you've been able to really hone in and focus on what you provide to people, working with others who do the other types and parts and pieces of marketing is always a good referral base. So if there's ever anything that comes up that I know, we don't do a ton of e-commerce, so that's always nice to have other people that we can rely on, even if you're in New York City.
Well, we're north. Since we went remote, we're not, and we're fully dispersed across the country now. We have as many people on the West Coast as we do the East Coast, and I'm the sole employee who still lives in New York State. Everyone else has left.
Nice. Well, that's true. Truly makes you global, and I think that's the I guess the upside or the silver lining to the pandemic is that people can live anywhere and do the jobs online, and they don't have to be confined to a specific, commuting office space that you have to go to. So
Yeah.
that's really cool that you've been able to work that out. I mean, some people really, really love it, and some people really do not. I mean, there's kind of like, it's, the flex space or the hybrid atmosphere, or just completely remote. But it sounds like you've been able to bring your team together every once in a while and have some quality FaceTime with each other and celebrate your anniversary and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, we'll keep experimenting. I don't know what the right mix is, but if we can get everyone together once or twice a year, it feels like that's the right amount today, but maybe that changes in the future.
Yeah, I think that seems like what remote teams do, is at least if they can get together occasionally, then it still feels like you're still a part of the team, even if you're not in like the physical space together. But actually, I do have a question for you. What are some things that you think have been helpful to you? I mean, aside from like meetings and team meeting, Zoom, all that kind of good stuff. What are some things that you guys do that help keep you connected?
So that's, there's two different things maybe I'd like to answer there. And when we had to move to fully remote, we had to first kind of lay out some communication guidelines for everybody to say, here are the 5 or 6 tools we're going to use to communicate. It's, it's conference calls, it's Slack, it's, we have a project management software. We have, we have a number of ways to like collaborate and communicate, and we'll use different platforms for different things. So we had a big discussion around to say, like, you're going to use this platform for this type of collaboration. You'll use this platform for this type of collaboration. And if it's email, let's have an agreement that we're going to respond to each other in this amount of time. If it's Slack, let's all agree we're going to respond to each other in this amount of time. So we went through and like set up this kind of guide on when to use which platform, and like the expectation you should give each other on response times. And that was really helpful up front, because we weren't all really aligned, because we didn't start as we didn't start as a remote organization.
Right.
So that was nice. But I think like as far as like building the culture of a remote organization, we make time for chit chat in all our calls. So we have standard calls throughout the week. There are at least 3 every week where the whole team gets together, but we make time to just kind of chit chat with each other, ask questions. And like, I know that's not unique, but you have to make time to like just kind of talk with people. And I don't know that everyone does that, especially when you get so busy, you just want to get into the work in the day-to-day and get through one meeting after another. But to kind of take it easy in the beginning of each meeting, even for a few minutes, I think is just a best practice.
Well, that's good. Well, yeah, you're right. Because people sometimes just want to get into the business and get it done and get it over with and move on. But yeah, having that connection, having that, ability to build culture, even in a remote situation, it does seem like that would be nice to be able to have just a moment of being able to say what you're up to, or what your kid is doing, or your dog, or, whatever. Right. I mean, that seems like it would be, normally it would happen in an office setting too. Like, what did you do over the weekend, or, things like that. So that sounds like it's healthy. It's healthy. Well, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate you sharing some of these wonderful nuggets that you gave us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking with you. It was great. We'll do it again soon, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks, Joe. And then for those of you listening, the best thing you can do for Joe and I is share this with others that you know that may need what he does. And also getting more rankings and reviews and all of those wonderful things on the podcast. We would always appreciate that. Right, Joe? Those are really important, huh?
Yes, thanks, Ray.
Awesome. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your marketing journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.